Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. We have another great program ahead of us. It's also May the 4th, so May the 4th be with you. Sorry, not a comedian. All right, if you haven't been here before, welcome to 1 Million Cups. We do this every Wednesday at the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, 9 to 10 a.m. We'll have networking as well as a free tour at the end, so please stay. It'll be really, really fun. 1 Million Cups is an educational program produced by the Kauffman Foundation to educate, engage, and connect local entrepreneurs on a grassroots level. We cannot do this without our wonderful and gracious host, the Dallas Entrepreneur Center. So, big thank you, just first and foremost. And then we have 6 minutes each per presenter with 20-minute interactive Q&A. We would like for you to get involved and ask questions. So if you do have a question, please raise your hand high, and Christy will come around with the mic and pass it around to you. And we'd like to get started by inviting Jill, the COO of the deck, up on stage. So everyone, please stand up and give her a warm welcome and round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I appreciate the semi-stance. My name is Jill. I'm the COO here of the deck. For those of you who have been here before, welcome back. For those of you who are new, welcome. As you can see, there's construction going on, and so great changes. We're going to update our space. The deck, so what do? We basically refer to ourselves as co-working plus, right? We provide space for entrepreneurs, desks, offices, and the plus part is what makes you successful. That's the mentorship, the education, and the community. And so that's what we provide here. As Lauren said, if you're interested in the tour or you want to take a look around afterwards, let us know. Staff will be all around, and we're happy to give you a tour and answer any questions you may have. We'd love to have you join us here at the deck. I want to thank Shade Tree Roasters, our coffee provider. They provide coffee every morning. Round of applause for them. And Purtu, who provides yummy treats and make the whole space smell delicious in the morning. So thank you to Purtu. And then we're going to go ahead and get kicked off. Lauren's going to come back up on stage, and I know when we have our first presenter back on stage, you guys are going to give him a rousing standing ovation.
All right, so let's practice again. We'd like to invite Joe of Ride Along Media. So everyone, please stand up this time, give him a warm welcome and big round of applause. Woo!
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
My name is Joe Van Offlen, and I'm the founder of Ride Along Media. I've been a part-time Lyft driver for about 1.5 years, and it was during my time as a Lyft driver I noticed 2 recurring themes. First and foremost, every driver in the country is upset with constant rate cuts by Uber and Lyft. And so we knew that there had to be something done about that, put money back in their pocket. The other thing that I noticed is that I was constantly talking about local businesses. I was telling people where they should eat, what they should do, what events were coming, and where they should go. It was those 2 things combined with what we've seen in taxis. Every taxi you get in has a 4 to 6 inch digital display in it, and they run ads for huge corporations with giant marketing budgets. This is some great space, but we thought it would be better if we could use it for local businesses. And that's exactly what Ride Along Media has done. We pay drivers to put an Android tablet on the back of their headrest. We provide them with mounting hardware, and they install our application. Once they do so, all that they have to do is mount the tablet, log into our application, and hit start ads, and drive as they normally would. As the drivers drive, the ads will roll through, and the driver does nothing different than normal. Until eventually, somebody's going to comment and say, "Brain Dead Brewing, I've heard that place is fantastic." And that's our driver's cue. That's when he engages, and that's when this thing really starts to work. So the driver will engage and say, "Brain Dead Brewing, have you been there before?" And they're going to drive an entire conversation about this retailer to see what that person thinks of it, if they've been there before, and try to conjure up enough interest to get them to go in. Now, as they talk to this passenger about Brain Dead Brewing, they're also going to say, "Hey, at the bottom of that ad, you'll see that there's a keyword, Brain Dead, and a short code. And if you text message that keyword to that short code, you'll actually get an instant coupon to Brain Dead Brewing. So you'll be able to get half off your order queso your next trip in." Furthermore, Ride Along Media gives away gift cards to all of their advertising partners every month. So with that, your text message inbound will also be an entry to earn some free stuff and an opportunity to eat at Braindead for free. This is an example of one of the return texts. This isn't limited to promotions. We're talking to some companies about potentially doing download links to promote their mobile applications. And really, if you can dream it, we can probably return it via text message. And so the possibilities are endless. It's a matter of talking with each business, each advertiser, and figuring out what do they really need, what creates a strong call to action for them, and how do we set this up to work best for them. You'll see here, again, when you text Braindead, you get that half off, you get a link to their Facebook page, and you get a reminder about brunch on Sunday, because that was something that was really important to Braindead. So we think here at Ride Along Media, we've really created a situation in which absolutely everybody wins. As far as the businesses go, we get people talking. Not only in the car, but as they get out of the car and they saw that display for the first time, they're going to tell a couple other people throughout their day about what they saw and the businesses that they saw on it. Furthermore, they can offer specials and promotions. Like I say, if they want to promote their mobile application, we can return download links. If they want to do coupons or specials, we can do that as well. And if they don't have anything they particularly want to do, we agree to actually buy a gift card from them each month to give away to one of our passengers. It again gets people talking. The gift card is a way that we can actually send somebody in the door and give that business, restaurant, retailer an opportunity to wow them and create a real brand advocate. We can cater to any budget. We think that when we hit where we want to be, our space is easily going to be worth $300 a month. With that said, we realize we're not grown to our full potential quite yet, and with that, we're willing to do about anything we can to make contracts work. So we can cater this to anyone's budget. If a small business can't afford the $300 or $150 a month, all they have to do is give us that number that fits into what they're doing, into their budget, and our algorithm will spit out a package that works specifically for them. And then valuable feedback is the other part of this. When we were testing this in Dallas right before the Super Bowl, we had a couple get in my car and they looked at me and said, Nodding Donkey, I've heard of that place. We're actually going to go there for Super Bowl Sunday. But they want like $100 or $120 to get in the door, and that's just too expensive for me and my fiance. So maybe if they did it for $75 a head, I could go to that. We were able to relay that information to the Nodding Donkey and allow them to make a decision about how to handle that in the future. If they're disappointed with their draw for Super Bowl this year, they have a pretty good inclination as to why. As far as the drivers, they see increased earnings. We pay them based on the number of hours that they drive every month. So at the end of the month, our app returns some data to us, and we confirm that with ride data from Lyft and Uber, and we're able to pay them out that way. We also offer them a residual income opportunity. So anytime somebody who has a business or shows interest in advertising is in the back of their car, they can send them to their affiliate page. At that page, the business can request a quote, and if we close that business, we pay a 5% monthly residual to that driver on the value of that contract. Lastly, we eliminate awkward rides. If anybody in the room has ever spent any time behind the wheel of a Lyft or an Uber car, you know that occasionally you have the one or two passengers who don't want to have a conversation and just aren't interested in discussing anything with you until they see the Ride Along Media display. We've got a real conversation piece and we truly get people talking. Lastly, passengers have the opportunity to learn about not only new and upcoming businesses in Dallas, but some local favorites, which is great for visitors to Dallas. We also offer the opportunity for them to get exclusive offers to some of the greatest businesses in the city, and we offer them an opportunity to win free lunch, free dinner, free merchandise as they travel around town. So we really appreciate the opportunity to speak here today, and if anybody has any questions, we'd certainly love to hear them. A couple of things that would be hugely, hugely beneficial to us as we try to grow is if you know anyone who has a business that you think this could benefit, we'd ask you to get us in touch with them and give us an opportunity to show them what we're doing. Secondly, if you have knowledge or connections that can make this road easier for us, please reach out. We're learning a lot as we go, and any knowledge or information or connections we can make along the way are of great value. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
All right, one more round of applause for Ride Along Media. Awesome, we're going to open up the floor for questions. Please raise your hand high and I will bring you the microphone.
I get to ask the first question just because I sat on the front row. I think it's a very clever concept. It's an interesting translation of something that's ubiquitous in taxis to now the Lyft and Uber, so congratulations on the idea. In terms of ad selection, is it a constant role that's fixed, or is it driven more by geolocation? So with the Nodding Donkey, for instance, if I'm within 5 miles, is that an ad that cycles more frequently or displays that it might not if I'm on the opposite side of town?
We actually don't use any geolocation at all. It's a static reel of ads. We position them to be able to meet our impressions minimums each month. With that said, the reason that we did that was polling. When we came up with this idea, I called an old friend of mine and said, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What do you think? And he said, go like crazy, whatever it takes. So I went out the next day with absolutely no materials and I started knocking doors to see what people would tell me. This is what I want to do. Would you be interested if we did it? And the overwhelming response was, yeah, that sounds pretty incredible. So those folks that showed interest, we polled and we asked them about geolocation and some other features. And most of them didn't have interest in the geolocation aspect. We do see there's one other competitor we know that's doing this. And they're really focused on geolocation. And of the folks that we polled, they just didn't show the interest in it. They said, no, I don't need, Brain Dead Brewing said, no, I don't need folks within a mile of here to know that I'm here, because they know that I'm here already. If you just blanket the Metroplex with us, that would ultimately be great.
So, since Lyft and Uber are kind of an on-demand driving service where I can get in an hour a week or I can get in 40 hours a week. And if I'm paying $300, how do I know that my ad's out there? It's not with the guy that's just out there an hour a week. I'm not, my message is really out.
That has a lot to do with our driver selection criteria. We don't take any driver that approaches us. I actually meet with every driver. I have a conversation with every driver. We make sure that they're personable and that they're going to be actually able to carry on conversations about these businesses. Furthermore, we do require the drivers we drive a minimum of 15 hours a week in order to be eligible to earn income on our platform.
Raise your hand high.
So you said you paid the drivers per hour, right? But if one driver takes, 3 people per hour and the other one takes 15 per hour, isn't the 15, is there a way to monetize that a little differently? If they're having, it's essentially impressions, having 50 people as opposed to 3 or 4.
That's certainly something that we have in the works. Being relatively small at this point in time, we just launched ads in Dallas on March 1st. So we're going into our 3rd month of advertising. And as of right now, we don't feel that we're big enough or prepared enough to approach Uber and Lyft to look for a partnership of some kind, which is where I think we can get that ride data from. Otherwise, there's no good way that we can come up with today. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear it, as far as how we can put those pieces together without getting some data from Uber and Lyft.
I'm actually struggling to understand your financials, where your money's coming from, where you're paying money to, the offers and the giveaways. So you mentioned gift cards and now paying drivers. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. So can you walk me through where your money is coming in and where it's going to, and then who's paying you to do what?
Certainly. So we work with local businesses, and we work with them to decide on a monthly budget that is a good fit for them. They pay us on the 1st of every month in according with that budget. Once we have that budget set out and we have income coming from them, the ads start to roll. At that point in time, the drivers are out on the street, and we pay drivers based upon 160 hours a month, so 40 hours a week. If they work 40 hours a week for 4 weeks in a row, we pay them $150. If they work 75, or if they work 80 hours a week, we only pay them 70, or if they work 80 hours a month, we only pay them $75. So it ebbs and flows a bit based on how many hours they put in. And so that's kind of the very bottom of it. The average $150 a month coming in, and then we pay drivers based upon how many hours they put on the road. As far as the gift cards go, we actually don't buy a gift card from every single advertising partner every month. We go to the 3 businesses that drive the most inbound text message traffic, and we actually discount their next month for them to give us a gift card. So we're not buying gift cards from every advertiser with SyncUs. There just isn't room for it. But we are indeed going to the top 3 businesses for inbound text messages and buying product from them to give away each month.
How do you decide who gets the gift cards?
It's absolutely random. Our text message gateway, we can click a button and it'll spit out a random phone number based upon what short code we're looking at, or what keyword we're looking at.
Any other questions? We also welcome feedback if you have ideas or comments.
Thank you so much. It's a really good idea. I know that there are a lot of other apps. Can anyone hear me? Can everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that there are a lot of apps that people are making for Uber and Lyft, and so I feel like there's a void in the market for where you have ads in those apps. Because your app specifically is meant for Uber and Lyft drivers, and so if you could make it to where other apps for Uber and Lyft drivers also could have like spots for your ads, I think that would be a really good idea. Have you thought about it much?
I guess I'm misunderstanding a bit. You're looking at integrating our ads into other apps. We haven't ventured down that road yet. This thing started, like I say, about 100 days ago, so we're still pretty fresh into this. I'm putting in a lot of legwork here. Our app was developed by an amateur out of Daytona Beach that I went to high school with. He went from, I called him one day and said, "Can you do this?" And he said, "I don't know, I can try." And I said, "Well, I need it in about 10 days. What do you say we make it happen?" And he kind of laughed at me. I said, No, really, we need to do this in about 10 days. Let's go. So he had a demo to me in 10 days. He had a production version in 2 weeks. We were really impressed by him, but the size of our team makes things kind of slow for us. So no, we haven't evaluated that yet, but I think it's certainly a good idea. We are looking at developing an app for the Samsung Watch that would actually feed the driver a little bit of information about each business as the ads roll. So we're playing with that a little bit, but because of the size of our team, we have to take things really slow and really focus on right now, but certainly something to be evaluated, I think.
Anyone else? Yes?
You just touched on it real quickly with the Samsung Watch idea. You said you're thinking about developing that. How do the people who are buying your ads know that the people who are talking about their company know the first damn thing about their company?
I've been a salesman for a long time, and that's the short of it is, that's certainly a concern for people, and a lot of that has to do with our vetting process. So I sell each advertiser trust in me, and they believe in me, and they believe in what we're doing, and that seems to be working pretty well so far. With that said, the app collects lots of data for us as it runs. It uses the accelerometer to tell us if that thing's sitting on somebody's kitchen table or in their car, and we get a lot of data back from the app. As far as them being able to talk about it, it's all about that hiring process. Again, we've had plenty of drivers come to us that want to do this, that after a 15-minute conversation, it was quite clear they weren't a good fit for it. So we really want drivers who are personable. This isn't something we're opening the door to every single Uber and Lyft driver in the city too.
I might not have caught this in the very beginning, but did you specify whether or not the driver has to provide their own tablet, or you provide the tablet, or do you lease it to them, or how does that work?
I'm glad that you asked. As of right now, the drivers, our application asks them what kind of tablet they have if they have a tablet. We're selectively using folks that already have Android devices. But that is certainly something that we have built into the model. We just don't have the funds to bring in a whole bunch of tablets right now. If the funds were there, we'd like to bring in 50 tablets, get up to 50 drivers overnight, and go like crazy. That way we can lease them back. I think we can do about a 35% margin, maybe a 40% margin, by leasing them back to them, essentially lease them.
Are you integrating with the Lyft or Uber app?
At this time, we're not. We really want to get a strong hold on the market. We really want to iron some things out in our app and some of our functionalities and things that we want to see evolve a bit further. And we really want to be in a bit stronger position before we approach Uber or Lyft to integrate into their app. We do want to look at making a move towards working with those companies, but right now we feel it's really, really important just to worry about growing here in Dallas, using the data that we have and growing from there.
That way you'll get better data back. Who is seeing, what demographic is seeing those ads converting into sales?
Certainly agree with you. That data would be incredible for us. Again, it's one of those things. We have 10 cars on the road right now. When I started this, it was just me driving around with my tablet mounted to my headrest. So we've grown a bit, and we continue to grow. And so as we continue to grow and we feel a bit stronger, and that we're more solidified in the market, then we'll certainly look to approach Uber and Lyft and start looking to get some data from them.
Intend to make the ads interactive at all?
No, that was another thing that we evaluated when we were surveying some of the businesses we talked to in that first week, and they just didn't show interest in it being interactive. We wanted to be able to run a high number of impressions. We guarantee a minimum of 14,000 ad runs each month, which blows our competition away. I mean, the competition up in New York is running about 4,500, 5,000 impressions a month, and they have an interactive platform. So we felt like the high number of impressions was the thing that was most important to the early advertising partners, and so we built it in a way that we're just really driving the number of impressions and looking to start as many conversations about that business as we can, because that's really what we see as the secret sauce, is sitting down and having a conversation, being able to relay any feedback and those kinds of things.
How do you train the drivers on the pitch or the spiel?
Put in a lot of time into this for right now. We're looking to automate that within our system, where the drivers will log in, be able to learn about each business, take a little quiz on each business, and go from there. As of right now, I spend a ton of time on Skype and work with the drivers that way. Also, with a lot of the ad partners offering a discount of some kind, our drivers are not hesitant to get that coupon and go try it out, and then that way they can genuinely talk about it. I mean, as a driver, we spend most of our day anyhow telling folks that are local to Dallas and folks that are in from out of town, what's going on this weekend? Who's got the hot new breakfast in town? You know, what's going on? Where do you want to be? And so folks are asking us for these things anyways. We're just throwing a little sponsored content in there and using those as a way to ignite those conversations.
Any other questions or comments? Raise your hand high. All right, one more round of applause for Ride Along Media.
So how do you drive with that foot? Carefully. Don't let anything stop me, man. Don't let anything stop me.
All right, thanks Joe for kicking it off for us. Just a quick little reminder, we're very active on social media, so please jump on Twitter if you haven't already, and use our hashtag and all of our Twitter handles here. We even have the presenters' Twitter handles up here. We just love for you to join the conversation and keep it trending. And then we're also on YouTube, and we have a newsletter, so please go to our Facebook page and press subscribe. We are videotaping today, so if you want to catch it again, or if someone wasn't able to make it today, we have it for replay. And next, we have our next presenter. Please welcome to the stage Matt of Imprint Foremost. Everyone stand up and do another warm welcome. Thank you.
Hello. Right. I found out I was doing this yesterday, so that's my excuse today for being completely unprepared. But if anyone's ever heard me speak publicly before, I'm never prepared. So we'll just go with it. Edition Collective we don't talk about much publicly. It's the parent company, it's the sort of more boring side of who we are. So a lot of people know us as Imprint, formerly Need. A lot of people know us as Foremost, and we work in fashion and retail. Ultimately, the bigger project, though, resides within the concept of Edition Collective, wherein I have a fundamental belief that people invariably gravitate towards ideas of quality and integrity. In e-commerce and media right now, we're seeing a shift wherein people move towards baited headlines. They try to sell fast fashion. They're just trying to meet scale more than they're trying to meet quality for people. My philosophy is that that is not a proposal that will result in a long-standing relationship or positive outcome for that company. So they may be able to sell thousands of t-shirts to people, but they're not creating anything memorable, they're not creating a relationship, and they're not creating anything of value that will exist much beyond that initial transaction. So a lot of people talk about the so-called millennial generation. I hate that word so much. They talk about the generation having no brand loyalty, and they talk about that being a problem for companies like ours. The fundamental truth is that they do have loyalty, it's just no one's treating them particularly well. And so we set about trying to come up with two concepts, and maybe more, They can share from the same infrastructure, the same integrity, the same dignity, and the same philosophy of treating people well in an attempt to build something that might have longevity and create something of value. So the first is Imprint. It launched as Need in November 2013. In the time since, we've garnered a few 100,000 users. We've been growing really quickly. As of November, we opened up in 44 countries around the world. We've not done any paid marketing, but 25 to 30% of our revenue every month is international, coming from places like South Korea, the UAE, Australia. At its core, the idea is a shoppable men's magazine, basically. So rather than putting out thousands of products per month for guys, or having a gimmick wherein we send a box of stuff, or we have stylists, or we have any number of things that would be extremely costly, instead we just have an editor. We've given ourselves permission to be opinionated, and it turns out that customers respond to a strong opinion. So we have a very simple experience. You go to our site once a month, or once a week now, and we have collections of products, most of which are exclusive to us, usually 10 to 20, that are available for a month or thereabouts. And they comprise a larger sort of thematic story that comes out once a month. We just launched on iOS about 2 weeks ago alongside the rebranding. And we were on the front page, we're still on the front page of the App Store. We've been on the front page of the App Store for about 3 weeks, and we've been adding, or we were adding for the first week or so, about 10,000 new users a day. And so it's going quite well at the moment. And so the crux for us, though, the crucial element there, which I can get to, is keeping that personal element. We still send handwritten notes with everything. I still write all the product copy. It still has this tone that journalists who've never met any of the team describe as the snarky, sarcastic British person, which is not coincidence. And so we've ended up with this really great experience for guys. So mostly men, 26 to 34. The immediate thing that became clear about 6 months into running it was that there was an opportunity to do this for women and also for a younger market that couldn't quite afford this. So average order is like $200. We were looking to target the world of fast fashion, so we built Foremost, which is really hard to see on this screen, I apologize. So Foremost is an idea that I sort of idealistically announced we were going to build inside the company, that we were going to do affordable American-made clothing for men and women and keep it under $50. I had no idea if that was doable, but we set about doing it, and we did it. And so, a little bit like Imprint, it's very editorially driven. It's not driven by copy, but it's driven by visuals. So each month, rather than me writing, some snarky article about Donald Trump, instead, we put out independently produced film from different creators around the country, wherein different celebrities, prominent founders, prominent people in the industry are wearing the clothing. So it's an empowering, memorable experience around affordable clothing. So unlike spending $20 on a t-shirt at H&M that you'd forget and sort of destroy slowly through the wash over 6 months, instead you spend $24 on one of our t-shirts made in LA. It's really beautiful, really soft, and you get a film alongside of it, you get a handwritten note, you get a really amazing package. And so that one has been running for about a year, thereabouts, and we've got about 75,000 users now and growing really quickly. It just relaunched about a month ago, so April was a really pivotal month for us. Ultimately, at its core though, we are invested in experimenting with ideas that do one thing exceptionally well for a small group of people and doing it in a way that eliminates the sort of pitfalls of trying to go after scale. So Imprint and Foremost can respectively be small and do really great things for their respective markets, and we can localize, we can go into different cities around the world and do things really well, support creative communities. But together they can meet scale. They can have that massive sort of revenue users, but individually they don't have to be self-defeating as you see with companies like Gilt and Fab. And so that's Addition Collective. All right.
Awesome. We'll open it up for questions. Raise your hand high and I'll bring you the mic.
So, have you found a solution for
for Imprint and your lack of scalability from the perspective of you, cloning devices, anything like that?
So it's one of the things that's come up all along. So like every collection we put out at Imprint formerly used to begin, or it still does begin, with a letter from the editor and it's signed by me. Every marketing email we send out, which by going to thousands of people now goes to hundreds of thousands of people, it's signed by me. And we send handwritten notes and all these sorts of things. When people write in support email, they say, "Dear Kristen," rather than saying, "Dear Imprint." We've tried to have this ridiculous and sort of really sort of, it's a difficult focus on transparency and creating those personal connections. And so there isn't a great solution for that. With Imprint, my plan is to localize it though. So what made us relevant here and what got us, tens of thousands of initial users was working with small groups of independent creators in different markets. So here, Imprint launched out of Weld, which is a co-working space in the design district, mostly focused around photography and design. I was the only founder, sort of entrepreneurial type there. It didn't really matter, but I got to be around a group of people that were trying to just produce really great different pieces of artistry, depending on how you define that for them. And so with them, we use those guys for our photography. None of our models are models, they're all local business people from around the country. And so the idea has been to achieve scale and to sort of avoid those pitfalls of people identifying Imprint as being me or my team, as people here in Dallas, as trying to work with different prominent personalities and become empowering and accountable for their success in various different cities around the world. So London, we work with photographers, we have designers, we have writers, we have prominent people there that when we're really ready to sort of have our feet on the ground in London, that they can take power for it. It's written by, shot by, curated by people for people in London, for people in London, in a way that is really meaningful for those people. And granted, the voice and the tone will be drastically different, but the metaphor we use internally, and it's kind of overwrought and a little bit trite, but I think it applies. What we're building is kind of like a house. It's kind of like a family. And we're the parents. And we have 2 kids right now, and they're going to grow up to be vastly different people. And they're going to go do completely different things, but they're going to share the same sense of ethics and dignity, and they're going to have the same sort of lineage, right? They'll go do different things, and maybe there'll be more, and maybe that house will expand or contract. But that's ultimately what we're trying to do. And so that, I think, is the solution for scale for us.
So you talk about handwritten notes, which are very difficult to scale. Have you solved that problem?
No, that's probably the first thing we're going to have to kill, sadly. There are services. There was a service for a while. They had an API for doing handwritten notes for companies. And it obviously went bankrupt. And so that's probably something that will die. I mean, right now, we're still doing all of our fulfillment out of our office in downtown, which is a mess. And so, I mean, just today, in about an hour, we're starting same-day delivery in Dallas, which is going to be fun, but we're just going to be so bad at it. It's not even funny. And so, we're just trying to learn as fast as we can, and handwritten notes have been a great thing. I think what we'll do instead, and what we've been doing right now, is I send a personal email to everyone that orders from us. And I have dialogue with all those people, and then I think we'll just have to do something like that. But, I mean, if handwritten notes die, we'll just try to replace it with something that is scalable, whether it's email or sending a letter soon thereafter that can scale.
In the back.
Have you thought about any like affiliate programs or like private affiliations?
Yeah, it's something we're really focusing on right now. So we put out collections of 10 to 20 products at Imprint. Sometimes in that collection we won't have, say, a watch. And so we have a lot of different brands that would be desperate to appear on our site that we may not just necessarily work with. We wouldn't necessarily be able to sell their stuff. Like, we could have a Shinola watch on our site that costs 10 grand and we probably wouldn't sell any of them, but it would be a meaningful experience and it would be really valuable to have on the site as an editorial sort of idea. And so we're looking at that. We're looking at inserting that sort of stuff. We sell out quite quickly, and so we're looking at replacing our buy and add to cart buttons with affiliate buttons that send people to partner sites so that we can skim a little bit of revenue on things we've sold out of. I was even approached just the other day about acquiring another company to build a social layer that would exist between both of our brands, wherein we could build at scale an affiliate mechanism that would be really empowering and valuable for our brands and our photographers and our designers that we work with. And it would also have a whole new layer that would drive traffic to us. But we're looking at it. It's definitely something there. We don't really provide it for our products right now. It's out there, but we don't advertise it. We're trying to build our own sort of idea for that, to sort of build a little community around it. Let's see.
Up in the back.
So sort of two questions. One is, are your margins within, what range, of, it sounds like you're all over the map.
For Foremost, which is our brand we do in-house, the average cost of product landed is $10 thereabouts. The average retail price is $44. For Imprint, it's usually around 50%, but it oscillates. So for example, our denim, we usually have a much higher margin, so we'll sell them for $179, we buy them for about $50.
Second question, there's a lot of talk about platforming the fashion industry instead of using the typical pipelines and channels. You guys sound like you're sort of tempting that.
Yeah, I think fundamentally the fashion industry is broken. They are still working on a very seasonal cycle, whereas brands and e-commerce retailers typically don't want to work where they're pre-ordering products 6 months ahead of time or a year ahead of time. So for us, you see a lot of companies that are becoming increasingly vertically integrated. They're trying to come up with products that they produce and only sell one or two of them. And it's great, but the problem with a lot of these things is that a lot of them are predicated on commodity, or they're just sort of an extremely niche product. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's certainly not a mechanism to achieve scale. And so I think what you're going to increasingly see is a product lab sort of mentality. And you're going to see it in tech, you're going to see it in virtually every industry, where rather than trying to build world-beating ideas, people are going to fundamentally move towards building smaller ideas that can meet a certain degree of scale, and together they meet like the real true scale. But I think that's a more sustainable idea. It's a revenue generating idea. It's an idea that has much more sustainability, and it has much more sort of hedging. So you're seeing it with even at the size of Google, right? They just became Alphabet. And so the idea there is that they're going to have a company for every letter of the alphabet, wherein each one doesn't have to compete with Google in terms of size and brand recognition. Instead, they can build things that do one thing really well. I think you're going to see that in everything. So in fashion, absolutely, because it's already been happening. Flash sales sites like Jack Threads, back in the day, they had dozens of brands. And often they'd be on their site filling the gaps when they didn't have enough products they pulled in to sell. And it was just ultimately because they were trying to find a way to become more sustainable. And so I think, we're moving in that direction where people are going to try to be media, they're going to try to be a retailer, they're going to try to be a data company. There's going to be a lot of different things going on, and I think the key to it is going to be silos with shared infrastructure. We'll see.
Just a reminder, we also welcome feedback and commentary if you have some additional comments you'd like to add.
I just wanted to compliment the design work. It is very beautiful, and I really appreciate that. So good job on the branding.
Thank you. It was done in-house. All of our true story. So I've done a lot of the web design, but the clothing and the branding for both of these is done entirely by a 25-year-old woman that works for me, and she's just ridiculously talented. Before she came to work for me, she wanted to come aboard as a designer. I said, I want to bring you aboard as a clothing designer, and she'd never done it before. And now I just have her doing all this stuff, and she must be so exhausted, but she's doing such great work. So thank you very much.
Awesome presentation, even though you weren't prepared. I mean, it was great. We have a lot to learn from you as a community. Do you do any mentoring or advising for the deck or for any groups in town?
Yeah, I'm a mentor for RevTech. I'm a mentor for Tech Wildcatters. I help out with startups here and there. The only way I got started early days was punching well above my own weight in terms of trying to get meetings with people that I sort of perceived to be really important. So like we got the former CEO at Guilt on our board, and on paper I shouldn't have been able to do that because I was just some 24-year-old with an idea. But people are pretty keen to meet with people if you just ask, usually. And so I always try to chat with people if they're just working on something, regardless of the stage, just because I'll probably learn a lot more, because I still have absolutely no idea what I'm doing. And maybe they do. And so, yeah, I'm around. I help out with all this stuff. I'm at the deck all the time. Trey Bowles is one of our advisors and board members since the beginning, so, yeah.
I have feedback. When it comes to scaling, I think you might be surprised with how dedicated people will be when you take away the handwritten notes. I think that your brand is really strong, and the fact that you are transparent will help you stay connected to them, and they will continue to just love you and your brand.
So on the handwritten note thing, we'd be able to do it if we localized, if we were just shipping product from London to people in the broader metropolitan area of London or Dallas or LA. But ultimately I think that our structure is going to end up being working with 200 to 300 different brands, pulling in products into one centralized location in the US or in Europe, and then each city pulling from available products that we've selected already. And so, I don't know, we'll see if it's doable. One thing we've implemented is, everyone's really talking about conversational UI right now. And so in our app, we just launched this feature. It was just called Concierge. And I think it's taking us towards something that will obviate the need for little touches like that. So the Concierge is a hybrid between a chatbot and human live chat. And so you're seeing a lot of brands like Spring in our world. They just launched on Facebook Messenger, and they're really proud of it, but it's awful. And I normally wouldn't say, because Spring does amazing stuff, but ultimately the trend towards chatbots right now is that everyone's talking, they're basically becoming really proud of the fact that they have an automated telephone line. Like you call in and you go through multiple choice to get a relatively arbitrary and inaccurate answer. So all the chatbots around commerce right now, they just pump out, here's some shoes, maybe. And like, you can see some semi-related ones and it's not great. And so what we did, we automate all the transactional questions. So if you come in and you just want to know where your order is or why you're unhappy about something, we're just instant, 24 hours, worldwide, just immediate answers. If you want a question, if you have a question about what to wear or what to buy or just general, like what movie should I go see, a human will reply. And so my hope is that as we grow, even if we lose little things like that, we can still retain at scale this approach of being, accountable for people in those relationships. So I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely a challenge, but we'll see.
Question: have you looked into robotic usage of writing notes?
No, that's interesting, though.
Yeah, so a really good friend of mine, Andy Elwood, has got a company about a year and a half to start up. They've got over 30,000 users in New York, and they actually manufactured these robots specifically for the sole purpose of writing handwritten notes. And they created an API in Salesforce. So like, for instance, if I go meet somebody and I say, hey, thanks for meeting me, I just put this template into Salesforce, and it literally has a robot that has my handwriting and writes it out. I can do tens of thousands of these things all day. I can introduce you if you want. Yeah, it's called Bond.
Oh, I've seen that one.
Yep.
Yeah, so that one we could use if we sent letters following up after an order. I don't know if we could do them up front for something, but it's super interesting for sure.
Oh, there we go. I have an odd question for you. I have a third party who wants to remain anonymous, who says they've seen you ride a mechanical bull before. And I want to know if you're going to add any kind of Western wear or any specific types of clothing to your...
I have a strong feeling I know who your third party is. Yes. We were all at Collision last week, we had the good fortune of being picked. This is me dodging your question. We had the good fortune of being picked as one of the sort of top sort of growth companies in the US. And naturally, after a long day of chatting with investors and everything, sometimes you need to sort of burn off the steam. Granted, it wasn't just me. There is video of a lot of people, and I do still have a hand injury somehow from it. We'll find out why at some point, I'm sure. But if that is who I think it is, you can tell them. Well, I'll tell you afterwards.
Oh, are you done? Sorry.
Probably.
Any other questions or comments from the audience? And Ty? More stories about that? Just kidding. Oh, okay. How can the community help you?
You can all write our handwritten notes. So I think honestly, just keep doing stuff like this. I love coming along to this sort of stuff. I can't come as much as I used to, but this is how I got going. I first turned up at my first startup happy hour before everything like this existed, like 2 or 3 years ago, and I was that person that refused to tell everyone what my idea was because I was an idiot. And it's been going since then, and people have been really keen to help, and we were able to raise money pretty quickly locally, and we've ended up, like Dallas historically has not been a great market for us, but as of 2016 it's our second biggest city, and it's quite exciting. So I don't know, it's more, we're trying to work out what more we can do for the community here.
We are so happy to have an alumni come back, especially someone who's doing so well in the community. So a round of applause for Matt.
All right, so that wraps up our program today, but we are offering the free tour, so please go find Will at the end. We have networking, and then if you would like to apply to be a presenter, you can go to our website or email us at dallas@1millioncups. And we just thank you so much for coming, and we hope to see you next week.